How is everybody doing today? I hope you're staying warm. Man, winter is kind of being a little bit cold and blustery. So I get a lot of questions. And on today's episode, I'm going to answer a lot of those questions. What type of gear do I use to camp? And how do I stay warm when I'm winter camping and don't die? I actually get those questions. It's kind of funny. Anyways, today is going to be what gear I use. Thanks for joining.
Ready?
So I figured what I'd do is start kind of going around the exterior of the Jeep, how I've got it set up, and basically kind of go from there, what type of gear I use after that and for camping and kind of take it from there. So I guess one of the first things that you notice about it is the wrap. So the wrap I had done because we wanted to represent the Alberta Outdoor Adventure Expo. And I've also got the Overland Alberta logo on it with a nice kind of map look to it. Now, the wrap was done by a company called T&T Custom Graphics. Check those guys out. They do an amazing job. I love the color of my Jeep, so I didn't want to fully cover it up. And if you notice around the edges here, the color still shows through. Now I used to have what's called mag armor on the Jeep, and so basically I gave the pieces of mag armor to them and said, hey, can you do a wrap that basically covers the Jeep like that? So they did, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I think it's pretty eye-catching. So the first time you see the Jeep, that's what jumps out. Thank you, T&T Graphics. You did a great job on it. So next on the exterior, I want to cover the soft top. So I did have a factory soft top, and I replaced it with the Rugged Ridge Exo Top. Now, the nice thing about the Rugged Ridge Exo Top is it's got a super strong rack built into it, and then the soft top is suspended on the rack. Was it a good upgrade? Yes and no. I love the rack. It's probably one of the best racks out there. The soft top, not so much. It was, I've had a few issues using it and kind of running with it. So I've gotten around it by making some fixes, but basically it's what allows me to support the rooftop tent on the top. And the functionality of it is next to none. I haven't found any other product out there that will actually function like this. So while I have a load on the top, whether it's a rooftop tent, whether it's a kayak, whether they're just storage boxes, I can take the top and move it back and go topless while I have a load on. It'll slide on little rails that are installed underneath whatever load I've got because it's suspended from the rack. So functionality wise, one of the best things out there. Super noisy on the highway, so yeah, I'm still kind of 50-50 on that decision, but that's what I'm rolling with for now. While we're talking about the exterior of the Jeep, basically, let's go into the suspension. So ended up going with a ProComp 4-inch suspension. And it gives me the ground clearance that I need for some of the trails that I like to do. Because I like to go wheeling and also overlanding at the same time. The 4-inch allowed me to do 35s. I went with 35-inch Milestone Patagonia. And as a tire, I'd say it's a pretty good tire. Is it the perfect tire? No, it's not the perfect tire. It has its drawbacks. But so far, I'm pretty happy with them. They do wear a little bit quicker than I'd like, but that's at around, maybe next time around, we might look at a different solution. But they do the job, and I'm happy with the performance on them. So with the 4-inch lift, we wanted to make sure that the steering was solid. So in the front of the Jeep, what we ended up doing is the Rock Jock Correct Link steering system. At the time when I think I purchased it, it was called the Curry Correct Link. It was probably one of the best upgrades I've done to the Jeep. Never ever have I ever had death wobble. It's just been a really solid Jeep, and that was probably one of the best things I've done. When it comes to the ProComp 4-inch lift, I would say the rear spring's probably a little bit soft compared to what I'd like it to be. So we might do a spring upgrade in the future. I'm thinking maybe Metal Cloak. Metal Cloak is a really, really good brand. Same with Terraflex. Terraflex is another good brand. So we're going to see potentially where that upgrade will bring us. But I've had this Pro Comp lift on here for, well, 5 years. Yeah, at least 5 years. So yeah, it's done really well, all things said and done. I've also got the Fox shocks on this. The Fox shocks, I would say, are a huge upgrade. When it comes to, I had the stock Pro Comp shocks on it at the time, and you know, they did the job, but they didn't do it very well. Whereas the Fox shocks give me that extra little bit of compression, the valving, they just work so much better, especially on a trail where you do get a lot of rough, rocky stuff. You really do notice the difference. So investing in those shocks is definitely worth it. So from the suspension point of view, I am happy with the setup. Like I say, probably upgrade the coils in the future, but right now it's doing everything I need it to do. So I'm pretty happy with it. Moving to the front of the Jeep, the first thing that jumps out at you is the bulletproof bumper. This thing has been absolutely amazing. Bulletproof bumpers, they do a lot of super heavy duty bumpers, and I have to say this thing's been through a lot of carnage, and it's held up really well. I have a smittybilt winch that's on here. This thing's got me out of a lot of pickles. I'm really happy with the winch. Eventually I'm gonna probably upgrade to a Warn, just because it's getting long in the tooth. It's starting to get time to look at replacing it or refurbishing it. There's a couple places out there that'll do that. We'll make up our mind when it gets to that. But the bumper itself not only has the winch installed on it, but it also includes these rigid SAE approved for low beam lights. They're amber. Well, they got the amber covers. I can take the amber covers off and basically run white if I want. But when I'm on the forestry trunk road or in a snowy condition or a foggy condition, having that amber light just is so much nicer. I'm really happy with them. And then of course I've got the toe points on the bumper, which are great. Use them a lot. And then in the center of the bumper, you notice there's a rigid light bar. This is called the rigid capture. And the nice thing about this, it helps me shoot some of the YouTube videos that I have. You can put a GoPro on the inside of this rigid capture. So it makes it kind of nice because you get that front end view as you're driving behind some vehicles, and it just captures stuff that you might have missed otherwise. So that's basically what I've got. The lighting itself is more of a floodlight. So you can do two different beam patterns with this particular light. There's a high and a low beam pattern. And so if you're getting a lot of light feedback and it's kind of affecting how the camera is recording, basically you can switch it from high to low and you don't have any issues with it. You can also power the GoPro from the A-pillar. I'll show you that here. And you can always have power to the GoPro, because that's the biggest thing about the GoPro is the batteries wear out way too quick. Even if you put a huge memory card in there, you're always dealing with the batteries. So I can power it up. This thing has been awesome. It's captured some great footage. Really happy I have it on the vehicle. Then we can go to the headlights. So the headlights are the JW Speaker headlights. Super happy with these. Now I did have the rigid heated headlights in there before. Wasn't sure if I was ever going to upgrade to the JW Speaker, but at the last expo, I was meeting with the JW Speaker reps. They had a booth at the expo and decided to throw these in. And I have to say, I'm impressed. I have a comparison video coming out soon on the rigid heated lights versus the JW Speaker heated lights. And these things are pretty awesome. So what I do like what they've done, they've included an off-road mode, which when all the lights are on, they say it's equivalent to having a 20-inch light bar. That's built right into the headlights. So I'm super happy with them. Nighttime driving on the trail, I have all the light that I really want from my headlights out of here. So super happy with them. And then going up to the hood, you can see I have some Vivid Lumen FNG 5s, they're called. Now these Vivid Lumens, I got actually a really good product video coming out on that. These are awesome. These will be a spot. So they're gonna light up down the trail, but with a little bit of a twist. The nice thing about these is you can get these filters, and what these filters will do, if you notice the bottom, they're just kind of a little bit, they diverse the beam pattern so that it goes out more of a flood pattern. So you can get a little bit more to the sides of the roads with it versus just straight down miles down the road. So you can get this in a clear or an amber and adjust your beam pattern however you want. The great thing is too, if you're driving on roads, and of course you're not allowed to drive with these lights on the roads, they do come with a black cover. So then they're road legal because they're covered with a black cover. So far using these, I have been super happy with these lights. FNG5s, Vivid Lumen, you did a great job on them. Coming over to the side of the Jeep, you'll notice that I had to replace the antenna with a little stubby antenna, mainly because this light was so large it was pushing the stock antenna over. That's the only reason why I had to go with the stubby, just to make room. And then you'll notice the awning. So I use the moonshade awning. I'm super happy with the moonshade. It's versatile. I can use it on my Warlock. I can use it on this side of the Jeep. I can move it on to the other side of the Jeep, and I can have it going over the back of the Jeep where basically I can pull out my stove and my kitchen and everything and have it covered off the back end as well. How it attaches on the one end, if you'll notice, it's got these magnets. Now these magnets are super strong and they just basically click right onto the rack. So the rack goes all the way around, so I can attach it from any side of the Jeep that I want. Now, attaching it to the Warlock, I do have to put a little bit of felt on the roof so that it doesn't scratch the paint. But once I do that, it is a solid attachment point. I've been in super strong winds and those have held. Once I put guide wires on the awning down, it stays where it's put. So I'm super happy with the moonshade awning. And it wraps up into a small little bag. So you're basically easy to pack, super light. And yeah, I mean, I might go to one of those, you know, those batwing awnings or the 270 awnings. That might be in the future. But for right now, this awning is doing everything I need. I have to say I'm pretty happy with it. Obviously, one of the biggest things you see on the Jeep is the rooftop tent. When it comes to the rooftop tent, I've tried the soft shell and now I've tried the hard shell. And I have to say the hard shell was a lot better for this soft top because more aerodynamic. Even though this was a little bit heavier than that soft shell tent, it actually, the whole Jeep actually performs a lot better, mainly because the weight is more centered over the wheels. Whereas the soft shell tent, I had a smittybilt tent on here before. I'll throw some pictures in here. The weight would, it just seemed more tippy. Even though it weighed less, the weight wasn't distributed as nicely. Now with the hard shell, it opens up within seconds and packs up within seconds the same way. So yeah, it's ease of use, definitely a lot easier. You pull up into your campsite within like 10-20 seconds, you got it open, you're camping. Whereas the soft shell tent, there was a lot more setup. I know some people were like, oh man, I've got it down to like 5-10 minutes. I could never get it down to 5-10 minutes. That just wasn't in my wheelhouse, but yeah, it was still a good tent, don't get me wrong. I loved camping in it. For ease of setup, hands down, this wins. And then for the aerodynamics, the fuel economy, and basically the way the weight is situated on the Jeep, much more stable. I would have to say it was a good investment to go to the hard shell. Now, as you can see inside the tent, it's not as spacious as the smittybilt was. It's got a lot of room. My wife and I can sleep side by side in here with no issues. And it's been very cozy. I like the fact that the top itself has a little bit of felt on it, so it's kind of protects you from the elements a little bit. Now, when it comes to sleeping, especially in cold weather camping, what you have as a sleeping bag makes all the world a difference. So this is a military sleeping bag, and it's good up to, I've been told, -35. Some people say it's good for colder. -35, I've tested it up to pretty dang close to it, so, and it keeps you super warm. I do have a buddy heater that I can bring up and into the tent with me, and you know, essentially all I use the buddy heater for is to heat up the interior, crawl into the sleeping bag, and then turn it off. Buddy heaters are propane, so essentially what happens if you leave it on, you're going to get a lot of condensation on the walls. I do bring a towel up with me whenever I cold weather camp, because even my normal breath will give you a little bit of condensation. Now, if you're running a diesel heater, that's something totally different. Diesel heaters are a very dry heat. It keeps things dry. And a diesel heater might happen here soon in my future, but I mean, I don't need it. In fact, even the buddy heater, I don't need it. It's nice and cozy when you get into the sleeping bag when it's warm. I do like that. That's a nice luxury, but I don't need it. Once you have a good sleeping bag, you're toasty, you're warm. It could be -20 outside, and in here it's going to be toasty warm. So winter camping all comes down to the gear that you have. If your gear is good to keep you warm while you're camping without a heater, it's going to be a very cozy environment for you. And then if you add a heater on top of that, then you're just going to be super hot. Either way, your gear is what's going to make the difference for you. Now, if you're cold weather camping in a sleeping bag that's only rated to +5, you're going to have some issues. So yeah, look at your gear, invest accordingly. A good cold weather sleeping bag like this one here, man, makes the world of difference. Definitely worth spending the money if you're going to do any cold weather camping. So we come around to the back side of the Jeep, and I got matching JW speaker tail lights to match the JW speaker headlights. I've got the bulletproof rear bumper. This thing is solid, has winch points on it. Also has high lift jack points on here, so if I get super stuck, I've got a lot of places that I can recover from. The actual tailgate isn't actually, it's not a tailgate like a typical tailgate you'd see on a bumper. It's not mounted to the bumper. Actually, I'll open it up here. It's got super heavy duty hinges that are bolted right to the pillar post of the JK. JK is the version of Jeep I have. Now, these have been tested up to 40-inch tires for weight. And so I can go up to a 40-inch tire if I wanted to. I'd be fine with this setup. And Bulletproof Bumpers did a great job with designing this. I'd have to say it's bulletproof, for lack of better words. Anyways, this brings us to the cooking part of the whole camping outfit. So let me just open up the actual, open that up, and it gives me access to my cooking area. Now, how I've got it set up, I do have, let me just pull this out. I've got tables that'll slide right out, so I can set up my kitchen and kind of get things on the go. I do have a fridge set up in here. And the nice thing about the fridge is I can turn it on via Bluetooth on my phone. Click the app, I turn it on, and you can see it turns on back here. It says it's 13 degrees inside the fridge, and now it's going to try and get it down to 3 degrees, which is where I normally like to have it when I have food in the Jeep with me. I'll just turn it off here. It's great having the Bluetooth app because I can be up front and control the fridge freezer from up front. This is an RFX fridge freezer. It's been great. I had this fridge freezer when I went down to California, and nighttime be -10, really didn't need to use it. Daytime be +25. That was just in the desert, such a huge dramatic increase in temperature. And this thing just took it like nothing. It's a really, really good fridge freezer. The biggest thing is it's got a multi-stage power step down. What that means is if it detects the voltages in the Jeep going down, it drops down to match so that it's not sucking the juice out of your battery, and it'll eventually turn itself off so it doesn't kill your battery. And I'm super happy with it. I leave it plugged in all the time. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about coming out and having my Jeep not start. So for ease of use, I absolutely love this fridge freezer. And I've got it set up on a little bit of this actually came from Princess Auto, and I really like it. The nice thing about it, you can slide the fridge freezer right out, which is good, but it's also got the actual shelf underneath. Now, what I normally have set up is I've got a butcher block that'll sit on here. This creates a whole table area so that I can essentially pull out my stove, set it on here, and go ahead and cook. So everything is set up so that it comes out of the back here, easy to store, easy to cook, easy to put away when I'm done. So done. I use these Wolf Pack boxes, I think they're called. Got these from Rennie at Off Grid Trek, and man, do I absolutely love these things. These things are weatherproof. They snap together, the tops come off. I keep all of my kitchen supplies in these particular boxes. They stay where you put them. So when you put them down, you put a strap to them, they're not moving. And you can see it's gonna click right on the top of the one, there, done. That's not moving anywhere. And then once you put a bungee cord over top, it doesn't move. So super happy with these boxes. Cool story, when I was in the deserts in California, King of the Hammers. Now, if you've ever been or seen Hammertown, dust absolutely everywhere. There's like 100,000 people with vehicles going everywhere. It's a dust storm no matter where you go. These boxes were the only thing that did not get dusty on the insides. Everywhere else I had dust on the inside of the Jeep, I had dust everywhere. Open up these boxes, it was nice and clean inside these boxes. And I kept them outside, so I'd have to dust the top off before taking it off. Really, really good boxes, super happy with them. Rennie, thanks for suggesting that I went with these. So, boxes are awesome. I also have one of those pop-up potty tents that I use with my portable potty. This is important because you want to pack out what you take in with you. I do have a shovel. Sometimes you need a shovel. Sometimes you can't get away from it. But you use these portable Lugaloos, or Lugaloo is one brand. It allows you to be able to go to the bathroom when you're out camping. And if you use the potty bags that you can get with these, they've got a powder inside it. They'll seal up, making everything, you don't smell it. It just doesn't smell once you pull it out. They're very sanitary, easy to dispose of. When you hit a garbage, throw your garbage away, and it makes the whole experience really good. This is great, especially for my wife, because she likes her privacy. So setting up the tent is a must. That's always a good thing to have. I've got my chairs in here, and basically that's my setup. I do have right in behind here, I do have my propane heater, the Buddy heater, that I can bring up if I need to, if it gets really cold. My wife really does like using the heater a little bit before she slips into the sleeping bags. She's not a cold weather camper like I am, so I get that. But we got that here at all times. If we ever need it, we got the heater. And yeah, that's basically the basic setup. Really, you don't need much more than this. You can get fancier. I am working on potentially a shower setup that'll work with that portable tent that'll just hang up inside. So that's another thing we're going to be looking at in the future. Some of the longer trips, a shower is great to have. I do have one of those solar heated hanging showers. I don't care how much solar heat you get, it is always cold. So I'm gonna look at doing something that's propane heated, and then, you know, basically you can have your hot shower, a little bit of amenity of home while you're out camping. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I do have a molly panel on the back of the Jeep where I have my tire deflator. I've got my winch and some of my tools that I need. Just extra little stuff. So it's always important when you go out into the back 40 that you do have tools with you. You never know what's going to happen, so you got to kind of be prepared. You can't be prepared for everything, I get it, but even if you have something, it's better than nothing. So I do have some storage bags on the inside of the Jeep, just hanging on the other side of this window here, from Right Line Gear. And that's basically where I put all of my recovery gear, my kinetic rope, all my shackles. I've got some tow ropes in there. I've got some hard shackles in there. And it just allows me to basically have all of my my recovery gear just on the inside of the door right here. So I can open up my door, pull it out, and away I go. Here, I'll show you what it looks like. I happen to be at the shop, so I can actually show you what the Right Line bag looks like on the box. It's nice because the Right Line bag actually hangs from the roll bar in the Jeep and remains suspended. You can access it from the top or from the side like I was showing you there. That's why it's such a great thing to put your recovery gear in, or even your clothes. I actually have used it to put my clothes in because you can tuck them in there. It's easily accessible. And it's a really good storage solution for a Jeep in a spot where you never put things. So it just gives you that much more storage. So I want to thank you for my rig walk around. It works. It works very well for me right now. I'm going to be making some changes in the future. I want to try a couple different ways of tenting. Tried the rooftop tent, tried the hard shell, tried the soft shell. Going to try some more ground tents now, so that's going to be pretty fun. And especially now that I have a puppy that I bring with me camping, ground tent just seems to fit a little bit nicer. So going to be doing a couple switch ups on that end of it, but pretty fun. Diesel heater potentially, we'll see. I've been told by my wife if I get a diesel heater, she'll come out more. So we'll see what happens. Anyways, thanks a lot for joining, everyone. Really appreciate it. And if you have a cool rig that you'd love to do a walk around, let me know. I'd love to come and shoot it for you and have it up on the channel. Anyways, thank you so much for joining. I'll see you later.